Hello, friends. I am Arpit and I'm here with today's analysis. Today is 12th of June, and we are going to deal with two very important topics which are in news. Significance of President Muizzu's visit to India. It was President Muizzu who won the elections in 2023 on the plank of India Out campaign. He was one of the leading crusaders of this campaign. He advocated against the deployment of foreign forces by India in Maldives, the increased amount of engagement by India in Maldives, the lack of transparency in India Maldives dealings, and garnered public support for this cause. But the president of Maldives coming to the swearing in ceremony of the Indian Prime Minister speaks volumes and clearly signifies that Maldives wants to move swiftly ahead with India. No doubt about the fact that the pro China tilt is there. Maldives has signed multiple agreements with China. The first foreign trip by the Maldivian president was made to China. Generally, it is made to India. But yes, this move is also significant in itself that Maldives wants to mend relations with us. Next is European parliamentary elections. Well, 2024, almost half of the world's population is going into polls. The European population was one among them. European Parliament, basically, the electorate voting for this parliament is from the 27 EU countries. It is the second largest electorate after India. The performance, the rightist parties, the far rightist parties have performed well in these elections. The main issue on which they were fighting was immigration. They were against immigration, and people have given them the mandate. And in the end, we will also be discussing about the MCQs. So, from these two topics, we'll be picking up MCQs and we will be discussing them. Now, the significance of President Muizzu's visit. President of Maldives, Mohammad Muizzu, he was one among those seven guests who visited India. And we are not talking about any other particular, I would say, head of the state or the king or head of the government visiting India. But we're talking about Mohammad Muizzu, Maldives president, because last year, that is 2023, there were strain in ties between India and Maldives, especially after the newly elected government over there of Mohammad Muizzu as the president, who is having a pro-China tilt and an anti-India stance was there. As soon as he assumed power, he ordered the troops to leave Maldives, and slowly and gradually the Indian troops which were stationed there, they left. Multiple agreements which India had with Maldives were called off. In short, the ties between India and Maldives, they strained. So that is why Muizu's presence was significant in this particular swearing in ceremony, because of all this, after all this, he is still here, clearly signifies that he wants to, or Maldives wants to, have cordial relations with India. Now, the India Out campaign and Muizu. Muizu was one of the leaders to, or for this India Out campaign in Maldives. It began in 2020 as the Maldives opposition's protest. At that time in 2020, Muizzu was in the opposition. Then president was Ibrahim Soli. Ibrahim Soli became the president of Maldives in 2018. Ibrahim Soli is known to have a pro-India stance. And as soon as he came to power, he launched this India first policy of Maldives. It was a foreign policy which promoted, India a lot. He visited India. His first foreign trip was to India, and there he got a line of credit of $1.4 billion as well. Right? You know that were perceived to be friendly towards New Delhi, but had soon turned into a movement against India's alleged military presence. This movement, India Out campaign. So during his presidential campaign, Muizu repeatedly vowed to send back foreign soldiers, and as soon as he came to power, he ordered the Indian troops to withdraw from Maldives. What were the Indian troops doing there? As per government of India, these troops were stationed there to give training to the Maldivian, armed forces personnel and to operate the helicopters and the aircrafts which were stationed over there in Maldives. Why were those helicopters and aircraft stationed over there in Maldives? Rescue and relief operations, air ambulances they could act as, in disaster management they can be used. So for those purposes, these were stationed. Consequently, the final batch of Indian soldiers who were stationed in the Maldives to operate and maintain two helicopters, these were Dhruv advanced light helicopters, and three Dornier aircraft India had previously gifted to the country, were replaced by civilians in May. So finally, in May, they were replaced by the civilians, and now no military presence of India is there in Maldives. Muizzu's pro-China, like his mentor, former President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Gayoom. Abdullah Yamin was the president of Maldives from 2013 to 2018. From 2018 till 2023, Soli was the president. Soli was pro-India. Now 2023 onwards, Muizzu is the president. Anti-India, Abdullah Yamin. Pro-India, anti-India. So India's relations with Maldives is indexed to this, the political party, the ruling political party over there. Now, the former president Abdullah Yamin Abdul Gayoom, under whose rule India Maldives relationships deteriorated because here he was anti-India, and this Abdullah Yamin was the mentor or is the mentor to Mohammad Muizzu. So Muizzu has openly aligned his country with China, just like Abdullah Yamin did from 2013 till 18. In January 2024, Muizzu broke with with the Maldivian tradition to choose Beijing over New Delhi for his first foreign visit. Generally, the tradition is that whoever comes to power in Maldives, the president's first foreign visit is to India. But Muizzu broke this tradition. His first foreign visit was to China. They signed 20 agreements covering areas ranging from tourism to social housing and e-commerce. In March, Male signed an agreement with Beijing to obtain free non-lethal military equipment and training from China. The Chinese influence in Maldives has increased steadily over the past couple of decades, and it is expected that in these 5 years, Chinese influence will further grow. Is this good news for India? Well, definitely not, because China is India's geopolitical rival in the Indian Ocean region where Maldives is. So, India's influence is expected to decrease and China's is expected to increase. But with the president's visit, let's see what happens in future. Now, India Maldives, a historic relationship. We've stood by Maldives. We've been there for Maldives in whatever circumstances, in whatever scenarios, in whatever crisis situations in Maldives. So we've been there. So for India, Maldives is a crucial ally, important to secure its maritime periphery and to keep an eye on the larger Indian Ocean region. So we want to extend our influence on the Indian Ocean region. So we are looking towards Maldives. Maldives is heavily dependent on Indian imports in almost all important sectors, from food to life-saving medicines and aircraft used in search and rescue missions. India has rushed to the Maldives aid in many crises, whether it be 2004 tsunami to airlifting drinking water. This happened in 2014. Operation Neer it was called as, because one of the desalinization plant in Maldives, it was the biggest. It went under breakdown. Then during COVID-19 pandemic, India sent medicines, masks, gloves, PPE kits, vaccines, and other aid, including a team of doctors was deployed. The Indian Army played a crucial role in thwarting an attempted coup in Mali in 1988, that is Operation Cactus, when a Maldivian businessman named Abdul Lutufi wanted to overthrow the Maldivian president. His name was Mamun Abdul Gayoom. So India helped Maldives in thwarting that coup attempt that was called as Operation Cactus. The chances of a fresh start. At a time when relations between India and Maldives are at a low, Muizzu's visit sends an encouraging signal. Some groundwork for a reset in the relationship is expected. And it is not the first steps taken by Maldives after Muizzu's government has come into power. Multiple other incidences have also happened after the formation of Muizzu government in Maldives, where Maldives has taken a step towards India. Multiple instances have happened where they have taken a step backwards or away from India, but yes, a few instances have happened when they've taken a step towards India. In April, India approved the highest ever export quotas for essential commodities like eggs, potatoes, onions, sugar, rice, wheat flour, and pulses, river sand, and stone aggregates. So, India has a trade agreement with Maldives which had to be renewed in 2024. So, it got renewed. And this trade agreement first was signed in 1981, then it was renewed in 2021, and it had to be renewed in 2024. Okay. So, but it has been renewed for 1 year only for 2024-25 only. Next year, we will again review this, seeing our relationship with Maldives. On 9 May, Maldives Foreign Minister Musa Zamir met External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi, the first high-level visit since Muizzu's government came to power, and important issues were discussed there. So let's see how the course of action is from here. Next is European parliamentary elections. The European Union is basically a supranational body. Supranational means the members of European Union, there are 27 members, they kind of give up their sovereignty on certain issues, become part of European Union, adhere to what the decisions are taken by the European Union on those subjects, and run their administration. That is why I'm calling European Union a supranational body. The European Union has its own parliament. This parliament is basically comprising of members from all the member countries. Up till 2024 elections in June, it was a 705 member body. From 2024 election onwards, it will be a 720 member body, the European Parliament. People are directly voting for the people to be elected for the European Parliament so that they can make laws in the European Parliament. They can sit there and make laws for the entire European Union countries. So this is the elections and results of June 6 to 9 European Parliament elections, in which about 51% of 370 million plus electors. This is the second largest or second biggest electorate after India's electorate. So only 51% of the people voted in 27 European Union countries. And majorly gains for right wing and far right parties were experienced that these parties won majority of the seats. The center-right group, European People's Party, was projected to win the most seats, that is 186, 10 more than in 2019, in the 705-member House. It will now become a 720-member House after the election that meets in Strasbourg, France. So the meetings of European Parliament happen in Strasbourg, France. So European Parliament is one among the institutions of European Union. There are two more institutions in European Union: European Commission, Council of European Union. So these two also we will study apart from European Parliament. European Parliament definitely we will study because that is the topic. But yeah, these two will also be we will be studying because if we in isolated terms study European Parliament, that won't suffice our knowledge about it. Okay. But all these are institutions of the European Union, EU. So what is EU? EU is a unique supranational entity. Supranational means which takes away some of the elements of sovereignty. Its member states pool their sovereignty to acquire collective strength and global influence that they cannot achieve individually. So that is what EU is. And in the EU, there are multiple institutions. These three institutions we've seen. What are these three institutions? We'll see one by one. First, we'll pick up European Commission. So what is European Commission? European Commission is the role is to it promotes general interest of the EU by proposing and enforcing legislations. Enforcing legislation means it is an executive arm of the EU, executive arm of the European Parliament. Members is a team or college of commissioners, one from each EU country. The current president is Ursula von der Leyen. It was established in the year 1958. It is headquartered in Brussels, Belgium. Website is this. So it is EU's politically independent executive arm. There are no politicians over here. It is independent from the members of the Parliament of European Union. So this is what has to be understood, just like the situation is there in America, USA. The executive body over there, which is headed by the president, is formed by members who are appointed by the president. They are not elected. They are politically free. Means they are not part of the lower house or the upper house over there. Next is Council of EU. Role is voice of EU member governments adopting EU laws and coordinating EU policies. So various ministers of the member countries. So these countries have respective legislative bodies in their countries also. And for certain subjects, They are here in European Parliament. So let's suppose European Union is making a law with respect to labor welfare. So the labor ministers of all the member countries will come and sit together in this Council of EU, discuss the policies, and a common law will be made. Let's suppose anything with respect to environment conservation EU is wanting to make. So the environment ministers of all the 27 countries will come and sit and make a coordinated policy or a law. This is what the Council of EU does. Members, government ministers from each EU country, according to the policy area to be discussed. President, each EU country holds the presidency on a 6-month rotating basis. It was established in 1958 as Council of European Economic Community. Location, again, Brussels website is this. So it is basically the government ministers from each EU country meet in this particular council. They coordinate the policies. The ministers have authority to commit their governments to the actions agreed on in the meeting. So it is like this. It is meeting in Brussels except for 3 months, that is April, June, and October. In April, June, and October, the meetings are held in Luxembourg of the Council of EU, but majorly the seat is Brussels. Then the European Parliament role, directly elected EU body with legislative, supervisory, and budgetary responsibilities. 720 members of European Parliament are there after the elections, but before elections there were 705. President Roberta Metsola, established in 1952 as Common Assembly of the European Coal and Steel Community, 1962 as European Parliament. First direct elections to this were conducted in 1979. Location, Strasbourg, France. It is also located in some of the meetings happen in Brussels, Belgium. So it is basically a body where members are elected for 5 years. So this is what European Parliament is about. Now, allocation of seats in the European Parliament. So seats are allocated according to this principle of digressive proportionality. Digressive proportionality means smaller states elect more MEPs. Means smaller states have more representation. That is called as digressive proportionality. No country can have fewer than 6 or more than 96 MEPs. This is one condition. The total numbers of MEPs in European Parliament cannot exceed 750 plus the president. President is separate of this particular parliament. Okay, it is the presiding officer. MEPs are chosen by proportional representation, ensuring the number of elected MEPs is proportional to the votes they receive, and they are grouped by political affiliations. So a rightist party, which is hardcore nationalist party promoting capitalism in Germany, a rightist party in France, a rightist party in Spain, let's suppose. So they will fight elections in their respective countries. But when they come to European Parliament, they all can align themselves. So they are grouped by political affiliations, not by nationality. The president represents parliament to other EU institutions and the outside world and gives the final go ahead to the EU budget. The functions of the parliament, there are three main roles of the parliament. First is legislative, passing EU laws together with the Council of the EU based on European Commission's proposal. So European Commission first proposes these laws, deciding on international agreements, whether to adopt them or not, deciding on enlargements, reviewing the Commission's work program, and asking it to propose legislation. So, the Commission is basically the executive body. It proposes the legislation to European Parliament, and once that Parliament passes those legislation, the Commission implements it, executes it. So, Parliament can review the work of the Commission. So, that is the legislative function of the Parliament. Another is supervising function of the Parliament, democratic scrutiny of all EU institutions, electing the Commission President and approving the Commission as a body, possibility of voting a motion of censure, obliging the Commission to resign, granting discharge, that is approving the way EU budgets have been spent, examining citizens' petitions and setting up inquiries. Citizens can file petitions either online or they can send via posts that we want laws to be made on these subjects. This is also a provision, discussing monetary policy with European Central Bank, questioning Commission and Council, election observations. Budgetary, establishing the EU budget together with the Council, approving EU's long-term budget, the multi-annual financing framework. So all these are the works done by the European Parliament. It clearly seems that budgetary lawmaking and keeping a check on the European Commission is, you know, one of the most important functions of the Parliament. How does the Parliament work? Parliament comprises of two main stages: committees, first to prepare these legislations. Parliament numbers 20 committees and three subcommittees. So it is a common thing in the Indian Parliament also works like these. The handling a particular policy area. So these committees are handling a particular policy area. So they form the policies, they form the laws and all. Plenary sessions to pass legislations. This is when all MEPs gather in the chamber to give a final vote on the proposed legislation and the proposed amendments. Normally held in Strasbourg for 4 days a month, but sometimes there are additional sessions in Brussels. So that is why, this European Parliament has two seats. One is Strasbourg, that is the main seat in France, and the other is Brussels in Belgium. So 4 times in a month they are meeting in France, and if additional sessions have to be conducted, they meet in Brussels. Now the topics are over. We come to the MCQs, the third segment. So what is Operation Cactus? Option A: an operation undertaken by India to support Maldives in the aftermath of tsunami of 2004. An operation undertaken by China and Maldives to weed out India. An operation undertaken by India to support Maldives during the breakdown of the desalination plant there in 2014, or none of the above. It is a very simple, straightforward question, and it is expected to be answered correctly. Which among the following factors is signifying strategic importance of Maldives for India? First is Maldives can help India to counter the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. Maldives can help India to extend its influence on the Indian Ocean region. Various sea lines of communications passes in the vicinity of Maldives. And fourth statement is Maldives is part of India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, a multimodal connectivity project to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative. Options only 1 and 2, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 4, and the fourth option is all of the above, which is not mentioned over here. It is cut. The third is consider the statements and mark the correct one. European Parliament makes the budget for EU countries. European Parliament meets in France. Which among these statements are correct? I hope you'll be able to answer them correctly. Fourth, consider the following pairs and mark how many of them are correctly matched. First, European Commission comprises of ministers of EU countries for coordination of policies. Second is the Council of EU, the executive arm of European Parliament. Next is the European Parliament makes laws and budget for EU. Only one pair is correctly matched. Only two pairs are correctly matched. All the pairs are correctly matched. None of them are correctly matched. So be very careful in answering this. And the last question is consider the statements and mark the correct one. The seats in European Parliament are allocated by progressive proportionality principle. No country can have fewer than 6 or more than 96 members of European Parliament. Which of these statements are correct? Only one, only two, both one and two, or neither one nor. Now, with this, we come to an end of today's session. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, keep watching the videos, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.